What's up, guys? We are back with another Marvel Legends review, and we're going to do something that I haven't done in quite a while. I'm going to take a look at an entire wave all at once. We're going to be talking about 8 different figures today. We're talking about the Chad BAF wave. Among all the other X-Men figures out right now, we have a full-on X-themed wave also. So we've got a new Emma. We got a new Emma Frost. We've got Fang. We've got Monet St. Croix. Always got to have a Cyclops or a Wolverine in a wave, so we got a new Cyclops. We got Kid Omega. We've got Chamber, which I'm really excited about this one, but my most anticipated figure for this wave is without a doubt Corsair. We've got, Daddy Summers here. So I'm really excited about this particular wave just because there's Starjammer stuff in here, not just because it's X-Men stuff. Now, of course, all of these come in our current closed box style packaging, so each one has a render of the figure on the front. You've got the BAF breakdown on one spine, you've got some comic artwork on the other spine, and then the back of each box gives you sort of a loadout of what's inside, including the figure, the accessories, and whatever BAF part they come with. So let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our X-Men Chad BAF wave, and we're going to run through these individually, for the sake of this not being 2 or 3 hours long. We'll give a few minutes for each figure, and I'm going to run through them least favorite to most favorite with Chad at the end to go over the BAF. And unfortunately, Emma is without a shadow of a doubt my least favorite figure in this wave. I legitimately just don't enjoy this figure for a couple big reasons. One of them is not the figure's fault. I just don't feel like I need another Emma Frost, but here we are. So let's run through articulation real quick, because this is the area where I am most annoyed with this figure, and that's probably a better way to describe it. There's a lot about the articulation on this figure that just annoys the hell out of me. So we've got a head that is super locked down because she's got a full head of hair, so of course she can't do anything. And then we've got arms that, while articulated, are entirely wrapped by this cape. And I don't even begin to understand why this was expected to be a good decision. Like, there's no movement here. Her arms can barely go forward. They cannot go out to the side. You do have elbow articulation with a swivel, and you've got wrist rotation and hinge there. But, I mean, this cape is in the way. And despite the fact that I actually like the way the cape looks, it makes her a statue, really. Like, she can't do anything. You've got torso articulation, so she's got swivel there. Legs go out. They kick forward. She is fully pinless. She's got single jointed elbows, but she's still fully pinless. You got your thigh twist. We've got double jointed knees, and they go back decently enough, but you're going to hit the cape, so like you can't really use it anyway. And then the ankles, she has these super high heels, and I always hate these on a Legends figure because in this instance in particular, I have a really hard time getting her to stand up. You've got hinge, you've got rocker, all that good stuff, but I feel like the detents in the feet, in the ankles, are at such a weird spot that, like, she just doesn't want to cooperate with me. Maybe I'm just messing up with her, but like she is uncooperative when it comes to standing. So I think articulation right out of the gate on her is pretty abysmal. I mean, it's there, it just, you can't use it. And then as far as like the overall look and feel on her, I think she looks okay. From like the neck down, I think she looks really good. I'm not a big fan of this face. The photo printing looks good, but something about it, to me, this doesn't really look like Emma. I know this is going for a specific look, and it kind of hits that, but like this, it just doesn't do it for me. There's very little paint on this figure also. She's overwhelmingly molded plastic, which, for a almost entirely white costume, that's not to be unexpected. My biggest concern with this figure comes down to just how she's put together and how it results in what, should be an action figure, but it's kind of an inaction figure, because she just can't really do anything. The sculpt is fine, it's all there. Paint on the hair looks pretty good, but I think she is lacking, like, from top to bottom when it comes to just being a toy. Because first and foremost, she is a toy. I don't care if you're 8 years old or 98 years old, she's still supposed to do stuff, and she just can't. And then as far as accessories goes, you've got, the magic-y hand, you've got a fist, and then you get the alternates as accessories here. There's a decided, like, abundance is the best way to say it. Decided abundance of hands in this wave of figures. That's pretty much the only thing anybody comes with. So she, of course, gets some hands. So this is, if you need a new Emma Frost, if you're into the astonishing stuff, obviously this is the way to go. I just wouldn't expect her to be all that dynamic or really do a whole lot. Next up, we've got Kid Omega, also, of course, known as Quentin. And this is one that I think he's fine at face value. I just don't think he's all that exciting. That's really what it comes down to. I don't think he's that exciting. And he's also not a character I really ever cared about getting in figure form, at least not like this. Like, I would love to see him in more of just like standard, new X-Men kind of look. So this is a little bit different, but I mean, it's still a pretty decent figure. It's just, again, I don't think it's all that exciting. So let's do articulation. We've got a head that can look up really good. He looks down really good. You've got no tilt, but you've got swivel. Arms out. They swivel. You've got a butterfly joint. We have got the swiveling bicep there. We've got double jointed elbows. And he is, I don't know what body this is. He's got these things on his arm. I don't know what body he comes from, but somebody else had something there. Maybe this is like one of the Spider-Man bodies that has the webbings or something like that. I don't remember at this point. It's been too long. We've got hinges. We've got rotation at those wrists. He is fully pinless. You've got diaphragm cut and an ab crunch. So he has really, really good mobility at the torso. Like articulation-wise, this is actually a pretty solid figure. And of course, he's the slightly smaller body style, so he's a little bit unique among some of these figures. Legs are okay. They go up all the way, kick backwards a little bit. You got your thigh twist up there. Double jointed pinless knees. You've got a boot cut. Of course, they always look kind of wonky when they're not actually at a boot. Rocker, hinges, all that good stuff. So he's a standard Marvel Legends figure through and through. Nothing crazy, so he has plenty of range. If anything, he has more articulation than he needs as a character. Like, he's certainly not the most dynamic guy out there. And then as far as this look, I don't really like it. Again, I don't like this look. I'm starting this review off kind of negative with two of these figures. Like, he actually looks fine. I just don't care for this look for him. All of, like, the pink hair, the pink psionic glasses, and then all the Omega stuff all over his body. It's really clean and nicely tampoed, or, well, it's probably sprayed on, but I think it looks good. It's just not for me. I would much rather have preferred a different look. I do, however, think the head sculpt looks good, and this is kind of in a weird way, because Quentin Quire has always been like a little turd, and this head sculpt really, really hammers that home. He just looks like a little jerk with this smirk, and these stupid glasses, and this shock of hair. So as much as I'm not like the biggest fan of it, I think it works here. Does that make sense? Kind of. He's got some accessories. He has more accessories than most figures in this way, but just sort of like a standard fare. You get some gripping hands. He's got fits on him in the box, and then you get a psionic gun, but he doesn't have trigger finger hands. That's kind of weird. He has regular gripping hands, and we've seen this gun before. This has come with maybe a cable or a Deathlock figure or something like that. But it's actually a pretty cool gun, and of course it's in fully translucent pink plastic to match his color scheme. So Quentin's okay. If you've been fiending for a Quentin Quire figure, now is your chance to strike. He is still pretty standard Marvel Legends, but I think they do kind of nail this one pretty well. I just didn't really feel like he was needed in this costume. I'd much rather have had something different. Next up, we've got Fang, so we're digging into cosmic X-Men stuff now. So he's a member of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard. And, this is also one of those figures that I'm not sure I was ever clamoring for, but to be able to get more of that group has definitely always been on my radar. Like, I love cosmic X-Men stuff. Cosmic Marvel in general is a huge thing for me, and Cosmic X-Men just combines my two favorite aspects. So I am happy to get this guy. However, I do have a big complaint with this figure, and it's more of an ironic one, and we'll get to it here in a minute. Let's run through articulation real quick. He's pretty standard stuff, though. So you've got a head that can look up really well. He can look down a little bit. You got slight tilt, and then you've got rotation. Arms out at the shoulders. You got rotation, bicep swivel. We've got pinless, double jointed elbows. Really good range there. Hinge, rotation at the wrist. We've got an ab crunch. Really good forward. Twist at that waist. You're already going to see part of my concern with this guy. Legs only go out this far. Really, really limited hips outward. They kick forward. They go backwards a little bit. You got a thigh twist up there. Double jointed, tight, but double jointed pinless knees. And then you've got a boot cut. It's an actual boot, but it's one of those that looks weird. And then you've got rocker, and you've got hinges down at those ankles. So, pretty solid articulation. Definitely works for him as a character. My big thing with this guy, though, is going to be like one absolute major complaint for the figure in general. Because I just got done reviewing recently those X-Men 3-packs that have them all in the blue and yellow suits. And I kind of ran and raved on the fact that all those stupid bands on the suits that always fall down were sculpted into the figure. Like, they had channels to go in there. This guy is absolutely driving me nuts with his like Fang actual accents and stuff. So like the little bangles that go around the gloves and the boots on this guy, they're just floating over top of them and they are just going everywhere. I absolutely get so annoyed by this. I'm going to glue them down, so at the end of the day it won't be a problem. But I really don't like it. It's the duality of Marvel Legends, right? So they do something to absolutely, in a way, like revolutionize a figure by making those channels and fixing a problem that some of the older figures had. And then this guy comes out right around the same time and he has literally the problem that they just fixed with others. Now, I know that this is not the same situation because he has non-standard bands or whatever you want to call these, but it just annoys me. Otherwise, I do think this is actually a pretty solid figure. I think the body choice and parts usage here for Fang look really good. Overwhelmingly, the paint, what little paint there is, let's say that, what little paint there is does look really good, pretty clean, pretty crisp. And then I think the face, the head sculpt here is pretty decent. I mean, you know, space werewolf kind of thing. Looks good, expression is nice, paint's all right. We've still got, you know, photo printing for the eyes. And overwhelmingly, I think this does very much look like him. He does come with a couple accessories. You know, we're gonna go back to the theme of the wave. We're gonna go to hands, and then he's got, you know, these kind of style posing hands on him in the box, and then you've got fists here. So he does come with a couple. He doesn't really need anything else, so I'm happy that he has those. I'm just annoyed by these bands, and then he's got this necklace too that I need to sort of glue it down because it doesn't want to sit on his traps. It wants to sort of float up. But I think ultimately I'll be able to fix my one big gripe. It's just sort of kind of funny to me that I just got done reviewing some figures that I absolutely love for that change, and then this guy comes out and he has the exact problem that I just sort of ranted and raved over with other figures. But I can fix them, I can glue them down, and then I'll be just happy with them because it is really cool to see them going deep into Cosmic X-Men stuff, shi'ar stuff for sure, because I'm a mark for that. If they want to go hard on those, I'm going to be there every single time, and Fang is definitely something that we need to sort of, you know, complete some of this team and then just complete that roster when it comes to the Cosmic X-Men side of things. Now we're moving into the side of things where I'm more happy in general with the figures. Like the first few, I'm not that jazzed about. Emma, I'm really not happy with her, and then Quentin Quire, I take or leave him. Chamber, however, kind of turns a page for this wave for me because I do think this wave is kind of a hit or miss kind of situation, especially for me. Chamber occupies a weird spot because I've really been interested in seeing him in figure form in Legends, but I don't really care for the character, and I never have. So this is one where it's like I don't really have a lot of attachment to him. I'm very familiar with the character, but I don't care about him. So I do think that this is kind of a cool one to get. He's still a weird Marvel Legends because of, well, all of that. So let's see what he can do, see how he moves around. What he can do up here is really not much. So he's basically stuck like this, which is to be expected. He's got a big, humongous head of fire, basically. Arms out at the shoulders. They go out about that far. Rotate, bicep swivel. These are double jointed pinless. It's a really good range there. We've got hinges. We've got rotation at your wrist. He's got an ab crunch, but it's kind of a different one from the norm because of his body style. He has really, really good forward, though, and a little bit backwards. You've got a waist twist also. Legs out a little bit, not much there. They kick forward, slight backwards. You've got a thigh twist. Double jointed knees. These are older knees with pins, though. And then we've got rocker, and we've got hinges down at these ankles, but he's got like the actual pants legs, so the range on those ankles isn't all that great. That said, Chamber is not by any means like the most dynamic character out there, so I'm not too concerned about that. I do think that in general, they pretty much got the look down, though. This particular look for him anyway. So he's clad in all black. He's got the leather jacket. There's a little bit of paint on there. The shirt underneath, I actually really like. It's super, super textured. There's a lot of different textures on this figure, from the way the jacket is, the shirt, and then the pants. And then you've got like the shiny shoes down there. So he's kind of stands out when it comes to this varying finishes of black. But I mean, let's be honest, the main focus on this guy is the head. And I think for the most part, they pretty much got it. He has kind of a weird power, and he's kind of goofy to me. But I think this works. So he's got, like the half of his head exposed up top, and you've got like the black striations all over the face. You've got the ghosted out eyes, which I always really like, especially when a character is utilizing their powers. You've got the hair kind of windswept, and then you've got this big mass of fire. So it basically looks like it's a big beard, but I think it works really well, and there's just enough paint on there to kind of bring out some of that fire sculpt also. So despite the fact that I'm not the biggest Chamber fan, I'm pretty happy with this figure. And then we're going to continue the trend for accessories here because he's got style posy hands on him in the box, which definitely work for him. And then he's got fists. So just like every other figure in this wave, he's got some hands. So he's pretty decent. Maybe not the winner by any means for me, but I am happy with the way Chamber turned out. Next up, we have got Monet, and this is the biggest surprise for me in this wave because quite honestly, this is another character that very familiar with, don't really care about, but I think this is a really solid Monet figure. I'm really happy with the way she turned out. There is definitely an instance in this figure where I would have liked to have seen more accessories for sure, but at face value, I think she turned out a lot better than I expected. There's definitely some new stuff here. I'm curious where some of this stuff is going to be seen later on. So let's see what she can do, see how she moves around. Despite this big head of hair, she has some range. Like surprisingly, she can look off to her side and like, this is a really good look for her. Just that sort of head tilted to the side and the expression on her face, I think has some really good character. You can get her to look down really nicely too. Of course, that's maybe not the best, but you can get her to do that. And she can look up slightly. Arms go out at the shoulders. They rotate. This shoulder pad is a floating piece. It's like connected inside the arm with the peg. Bicep swivel, double jointed pinless arms. You've got hinges. You've got rotation at the wrist. We've got a diaphragm cut here, which has really, really good range. Like this is tremendous. That's really good stuff right there. I want to see more of that. Very, very happy with that. Legs go out. They kick forward more than 90 degrees. Kick backwards a good bit. You got your thigh twist. Double jointed pinless knees. She's got bigger boots, so of course that does limit range a little bit, but it's not so bad. And then you've got a rocker and you've got hinges down at those ankles. She doesn't have any kind of boot cut because the boots go right up to her knee, so you're not going to be swiveling those anywhere like that. But the thigh cut does the job. And I think she looks really, really good. I'm very happy with the way she turned out. I think a lot of that comes down to the face, but I think the colors here work nice. We've got that metallic plastic for the belt, for the bracers, and for the boots. And I think she looks really good. Nice metallic luster down there. We've got good paint on the zipper down her chest, and then the colors just work. Like this very much looks like her, of course, in this particular look. And then I think she really shines with this head sculpt. This is a really, really nice face. Really good hair sculpt, and the photo printing on this one is probably my favorite out of the bunch when it comes to the entire wave. I will say, however, despite the fact that I do really like this head, I think she needs another one with a much more expressive face. Just based on her character, power set, and things like that, I feel like a different head would have absolutely elevated this figure into something else. And then as far as accessories goes, it is the same old story through and through. So she's got a fist on one hand, she's got a grippy style posy hands on the other, and then you get the opposite. So you get the opposing hands to complete the set. So more hands across the board. I feel like she's definitely one that could have used more accessories, but quite frankly, I'm really happy with the way she turned out. This is a really solid Monet figure. Now we're in the home stretch, and Cyclops is my second favorite when it comes to this wave as far as the regular figures goes, and there is very little surprise here on my part. I'm a huge Cyclops fan, so it's not surprising that I've really been curious about this one. But this might be the best Cyclops we've gotten, period, and I'm trying to be as impartial as possible because the Jim Lee version is my favorite, and then the X Factor suit is second favorite for me after that. But the parts usage here just works so well. Like this is what I want, and I'm hesitant to say this. This is what I want all of my Cyclops to look like, and I know that at one point, you know, we might get reissues of Cyclopses down the road that I already have and are on this type of body, and it's like I'm gonna have to buy them because this is a damn good Cyclops. I don't really care one way or the other about this particular suit. I do like it, don't get me wrong, I like it, and it works really well in figure form, but it's nowhere near my favorite. This absolutely works as a Cyclops figure, though. I do have some criticisms, but overall, like, this is one to get. If you're not going to get this entire wave, this one is up there for sure. So let's see what he can do. We've got a head that can look up really good. He can look down really good. No tilt, but you've got rotation. Arms out at the shoulders. Butterfly joint. They go all the way around. We've got bicep swivel. We've got double jointed pinless elbows. He's got everything you want in a Marvel Legends at this point. There's literally nothing here that's missing, I don't think. We've got hinges, we've got rotation. We've got an ab crunch that goes backwards, forward, and twist. The only thing I could say maybe want to change is to do one of the diaphragm cut figures or diaphragm cut style bodies on this guy, but I'm happy with the way he works still. Legs go out pretty good. They kick forward, kick backward, thigh cut. We've got double jointed pinless knees, go all the way back. They're kind of tight, but I'd rather them be too tight than too loose. Boot cut at the top of the boot, so that works well. It's still one of those that kind of look funny, but the cut is there, it's where it should be. We've got hinges, we've got rocker down at those ankles, and he moves well. Like this is, he moves about as well as any other Cyclops, honestly. He just has the added benefit of a butterfly joint, and it does work really well. This suit also translates into figure form really, really nicely. Like all of this gold piping is sculpted on. So that's really great. It looks good, and it's nice and bright and vibrant. It's got some good luster to it, as do the metallic pieces for the cuffs on the body. And in general, this is just the body style that I would love to see going forward for all Cyclops figures, and pretty much all the X-Men males, really. I need them to be like this. There can be some variants, obviously, but this is the standard going forward. And we're past Bucky Cap body, thankfully, and we can kind of move forward with a more accurate and a lot more versatile body style. And this definitely works for this Cyclops. I really like the head here. I like the heads that showcase his power. I will say that this is another instance of a figure in this wave that I would have loved to have seen an alt head for, because I need to see more Cyclops that actually have optic blast effects. We've gotten, I don't know, we got what, one or two, and we don't ever really see those come back. I would love to be able to have an actual optic blast coming out of his head, and it's not just like, the energy sort of seeping out of the visor. I'm not saying I don't like this, because it makes for an imposing looking figure, even when he's in just like a vanilla pose. So I'm happy with this, and it looks good. It's sized well. Colors are nice. The face, what you can see, is really well done. This is another instance where I would have just liked to have seen another head with that effect part, especially because he doesn't come with a BAF piece. So he's the odd man out in the wave. So it would have been really cool to get that alt head with him, yelling, and have that optic blast piece that actually fits in the visor. So, take those notes from me, Hasbro, and run with them if you want. And then we do have some accessories, and it's, the current theme for the wave. We've got the 2-finger pose hand for his left to touch the visor with, and then you've got a right, like open palmy, slightly gripping hand to complement him. So he comes with some extra hands, nothing too crazy, but I think, honestly, for what he is easily one of the best figures in this wave. This is a really good Cyclops. And then rounding out the wave, my favorite figure, and I'm not really surprised here, because I've wanted this character for a very long time. We've got our Corsair, so we've got our Starjammers leader, we've got Daddy Summers, so we can complete the Summers family, which I'm really happy with, just to be able to do that. But this is also a really good figure. He's also the figure that gets the most accessories in this wave, and if anything, they kind of took a little bit more care with him and his boy to make them, for me anyway, the best figures in this wave. So let's see what he can do, see how he moves around. He's really familiar territory, because we just got done talking about a figure that's pretty much exactly the same. So we've got a head that can look up. He can look down really good. You don't really have much tilt, but there is a little bit there, a little bit of room. You've got swivel. Arms out at the shoulders. They rotate. We do have a butterfly joint. You've got your bicep swivel, double jointed pinless elbows. He's got cuffs, so that does hinder the range a little bit. You've got vertical hinges on him here with rotation. You got your ab crunch. It's kind of a wonky looking crunch right here. If you want to go backwards, I don't know, probably not ever going to do that. He goes forward really good. Waist twist, which is hidden pretty nicely by the sash. Legs go out decently, kick forward, backwards a little bit. You got your thigh twist. Double jointed pinless knees go all the way back. We've got our boot cut here, and then we've got rocker and hinges down at those ankles. So he's basically, like current standard Marvel Legends, the pinless male stuff, and works really, really well. I think overwhelmingly they got him down very nicely. Colors look good. The black and the red suit with the logo on the front of the chest. The chest is tampoed pretty well. It's a little fuzzy in places, but overwhelmingly I'm happy with it, because especially being yellow paint over top of other colors usually results in a really thin look, and that is not the case here. So I'm okay with how this turned out. The sash on him looks really good. It also doubles as a sheath for his sword, but there's a little bit of paint on it because you've got this sort of gold buckle, and it also does hide the waist joint really well, the twist down there. So you've got your space pirate, and he looks great. Like, again, I'm kind of biased on this one because I did really, really want this figure. It's easily one of the main reasons why I was interested in this wave to begin with, because of the cosmic ties to X-Men stuff. And Corsair is definitely one that I think we've needed for a long time. The face looks really good. You've got that windswept headband, so it is kind of, it is static but dynamic at the same time, because it only goes in one direction. But I think the hair looks really good. He's got the earrings, he's got, he's got the mustache. Photo printing on the eyes looks good, and overall the face in particular, I think the sculpt is really good. Like, this is definitely a Corsair look, and they got him down. I'm very happy with this. And then, of course, he does come with a few accessories, but he also gets the majority of the accessories. He gets more than any other figure. So to start with, we get some extra hands. He's got trigger finger hands on him in the box. You get a pair of fists. We get his space, like, blunderbuss kind of gun. Flintlock pistol, whatever it is. It's done up in that sort of metallic, marbly plastic. No paint on it, but there's a pretty decent sculpt here. There is a port on it, too, for an energy effect, but he doesn't come with one, but I suppose I'm sure there's something out there that'll work in it. I haven't really gotten around to doing that. And then he gets his sword here as well. So, yeah, he's very much, space pirate themed. So you've got this very deep metallic silver blade with the gold handle. And then it goes in the sash, and it sits there really, really well, too. It's very much out of the way of the figure also, so it doesn't really impede articulation despite being a pretty long sword. So yeah, he's easily the best figure in the wave for me. It was a tie, really a close tie between him and Cyclops, but just the newness of this character absolutely outweighs it for me. Again, this is reason to get into this wave is for the Starjammers, the shi'ar ties for me. So this guy is really up there as far as not only a needed character, but a character that they absolutely nailed when it comes to translating into a figure. And then we round out the wave with our Build-A-Figure, with our BAF, Chod. And I've said it a few times in this video, right? I'm a big Starjammers, shi'ar, Cosmic X-Men guy. I've always loved those stories. I loved those episodes in the X-Men cartoon, all of it really. War of Kings stuff, I really was a big fan of all of that. And I really have been wanting to get the Starjammers, to get shi'ar stuff. So he's been on my radar. I know overwhelmingly that this guy is just an old Build-A-Figure. And I'm not upset at the majority of our parts reusage here. I think for the most part, this old Abomination BAF works pretty well for Chod. It's the lack of new parts on him that definitely drop him down a little bit because he could have been so much more. So let's see what he can do, see how he moves around. Articulation is about what you expect, right? For an old BAF. So his head can look up. He can look down really good. You've got rotation. He does have an articulated jaw as well. Arms out at the shoulders. You got rotation. You got your bicep swivel. We got single jointed, about 90-degree elbows. You got hinges, rotation at your wrist. Normal stuff. You're not going to be surprised by how he moves. He goes backwards slightly, and he goes forward slightly at the torso. You've got your waist twist. The belt sits over top of it, and it's one of those that literally sits over top of the cut, so you've got to kind of watch that to make sure it's not going to get warped with how you pose him. Legs go out. It's the old, and I mean old ball hip system. They kick forward. They don't really go backwards. You've got your twist up there. We've got single jointed knees. They're about 90 degrees. Big old cuts in those knees. And then we've got really good rocker, and we've got really good hinges down at those ankles. So articulation is fine, and that's not even remotely a concern for me when it comes to most Build-A-Figures. Like, I kind of know what they're going to do. At this point, we all know what they're going to do if we've been collecting Legends for long enough. The big gripes for me with this guy just come down to what could have been, and I really hate focusing on what's missing on a figure, because I do like this figure. I do like him. He's pretty good. He's not blowing my mind, but he's pretty good, and I'm happy to have him. Like, if this is the only way I'm ever going to get a Chod, then of course I'm going to get my Chod and I'm going to move on. I do think there are definitely some criticisms, and they're all pretty legitimate too. Mostly it's the fact that they just left stuff out because they focused so heavily on reusing parts. And, like I said, I think the BAF choice that they used, these particular parts, I think are fine. Like, I think they work pretty well here. It's just that we're missing stuff. So things like the hands, his hands don't have 4 fingers. He shouldn't have those. The calves should have the little fins off the back. He doesn't have those. None of the nails are painted or anything like that. And he's also supposed to have like a third, like a dew claw kind of toe sticking out the back of his feet. He doesn't have those. There's also not really any paint on this guy either. He'll need a wash at some point, right? I feel like that's the big thing. He really needs a wash. There is some like light green dry brushing that goes down him, but he's overwhelmingly just molded plastic. You've got some on the shoulders, you've got a little bit on the legs, and then you've got some like on his back here. His back looks really good. I like the way that's sculpted. That looks nice. I'm happy with that. The face, the head, terrific. Looks great. The mouth is good. The eyes are really nice. They're kind of smoky around there. You've got the fins. He's got a weird head shape, and I think it works pretty nicely here. They got the belt and the trunks down really good, but there's a few like small, well, they're not even small details. They're just big parts of his physiology that were just left out for sake of parts reuse. And that's definitely a negative. I'm still really happy to have him. It's just two sides of the same coin. I really like having this guy, but he could have been better. He does come with one accessory. He comes with his little buddy Kree. And I'm going to kind of harp on this because the fact that we got a actual like animal creature when we didn't get his gun, I'm really confused by. Is there much reuse value in this thing? I'm not really sure. Did it come from something else? I don't know. Kree looks good, and if you get him posed right, you can get him to sit on the shoulder, which that actually works if you don't knock him down. You can get him to sit up there at times. I'm probably not going to be successful at it right now, but yeah, there you go. You can get him to sit up there, and like that's the look. So I'm pretty happy with that. But I would have much rather had Chod's crazy big gun than this guy. That's my personal preference. I am happy that we got him. Don't get me wrong. I just think maybe, let's say it. We should have gotten both, right? He's a Build-A-Figure. They don't usually get a lot of accessories, but he could have gotten both because he does actually have a gun. So I would have really liked to have seen that. So I do like this guy. He looks good, but he is missing some stuff. He's missing key points of his physiology that would have elevated this guy into maybe one of the better BAFs in recent memory. But right now, he's good as is. He could have been better. So yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with this wave, but I'm kind of hit or miss on a lot of it too. Emma, I think, is a real miss, just in general. I'm not happy with her. Quentin's okay, just maybe not for me. Fang, pretty solid, but his, adornments are annoying. Chamber is really good. Monet is really good. Cyclops and Corsair are terrific. Cyclops in particular, I think, is an amazing figure. Corsair is also amazing. He just is one I really, really wanted, so he ends up being the #1 pick for me. Chod as a Build-A-Figure is pretty solid, but he's missing stuff. He's not perfect. He doesn't look comic accurate through and through. I think what we got is pretty solid, but there's no accounting for the fact that he could have been better. So that's going to do it for this look at the Marvel Legends X-Men Chod BAF wave. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.